All I can say is, holy crap. I have so much to talk about in this video. And ultimately, I just want to let you know it's an update video. So like, if you're wanting to know more spiritual content, feel free to like not watch this video. There is nothing that is making it to where it's necessary for you to watch this video. So like, do what you will. All right, so first I want to go over where I left off with everybody, because that's the last I saw you. I've posted little like interviews here and there, but nothing really like, hey, this is where I'm at now. And this is why I wanted to make this video before I start just like randomly posting content on my channel again, because I think if I did that, you guys would be like, where is all this stuff coming from? So I kind of want to give you some backstory on how we got to this point, and we're going to try to make a long story short. Okay, so where we left off was that I was homeless in my car. But basically after I was living in my van, I was offered to live with someone out of a spare room in LA, and I was doing that for a couple months, and then they kicked me out. It was a long story, I won't get into it. And then I was homeless again, and I was living out of hotels because thankfully I was making enough from my business at that point to be able to live out of hotels, which honestly was really fucking hard. Not only because like living out of a hotel is so much more expensive than living out of an apartment, but just like the stress of it all. I don't know honestly how I did it. It was all survival mode. I just was like go, go, go mode. I had no way of just being like, yeah, let's slow down and chill. No, it was all survival mode. Honestly, I look back on that time and I'm like, I was Wonder Woman. But ultimately, thankfully, I was able to get out of that situation and move into my first apartment, which was in Camarillo. So I lived in Camarillo for 11 months. And during those 11 months, my boyfriend, who is the same boyfriend that I was dating during the time that I was homeless, ended up getting a job out in Phoenix. And I obviously was like, I have nothing tying me here, let's fucking go. Thus, bringing me to where I currently am, which is Phoenix, Arizona. Last time I made videos, I was actually still working at Amazon. I didn't say that I was working at Amazon. I tried to keep that private because obviously like people are weird and people are creepy and they'll be like, ooh, I'm gonna see her at work. But I did end up quitting my job at Amazon just due to two major things. One was that my heart, I have heart issues now, and it means that I couldn't do the physical tasking work that was required of me at that job. And I was just having trouble like getting approved by a doctor to actually go back to work after a couple incidences where my heart was like, we can't take it anymore. So basically it meant that I had to quit. It was fine. It was on good terms. It's not like I just was missing work or anything, but I just couldn't do it anymore, which honestly made me sad because there was a lot of things that I liked about working at Amazon, but it just ended up being a better fit for me to just go full time with my own business, which I did. And at the time, my business was actually making me more money. So it really gave me the freedom to be making more money, but have a lot more freedom in terms of schedule and stuff like that. And I could do my job from wherever, working for myself. So I could be working from my sister's house. I could be working from, you know, anywhere that I was, any hotel, as long as I had a Wi-Fi connection. So that's what I did. So going into moving into LA, around July of 2021, my boyfriend decided to move down to LA, and I agreed to go down because, again, didn't have anything tying me to the area. So I decided to move down to LA as well. And like I said, ended up moving to Camarillo. And I lived in Camarillo from December of 2021 until November of 2022 when I moved to Phoenix. And I've been here ever since, just running my business, which is actually really weird for me to say because I know you guys have seen this since I started this channel, me wanting to just work for myself, and that was always my dream, and now I'm finally doing it, and it's like so exciting. But it is stressful. There are so many stressful parts of working for yourself, but there are so many benefits, and I've just felt myself as a person, just not even just from working my own business, but like everything that happened over 2020, 2021, and now so far in 2022, there's been so much growth, and it's really exciting, but also sometimes intimidating because you're like, can I fill these shoes that I've given myself to fill, you know, like, can I meet my own expectations of myself? And that can be really scary. But I don't know, like, God, I look back to who I was in 2020 even, and I barely recognize her. It's so, so weird how much can change in such a small amount of time. And I remember thinking that I was fine and just taking everything in stride until I moved into my first apartment, and then everything hit me all at once. It was like I was fine for like December and January, and then around the like mid-January, I just went into absolute like shadow work mode and just absolute trauma processing. And I ended up having a therapist that I was working through things with because I couldn't deal. I couldn't deal. And just everything with the pandemic, everything with my business, everything with homelessness, like, I didn't realize how much it affected me until I was talking to a therapist, and I was like, holy fuck, I went through a lot. I remember, and I think a lot of people know what I'm talking about, I remember watching Bo Burnham's Inside and just laughing and like having a good time, right? And then you get to the song, That Funny Feeling, and I just absolutely broke down because there was this realization that it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me that went through the pandemic. It wasn't just me that was affected. And I know that sounds really, really awful to say, but it's true. You go through this experience on your own, right? And you're isolated, you're in quarantine, or you're having to work, or, you know, you're so focused on your own experience of the situation that you forget other people are going through it too, until you're able to actually take a step back outside of your own trauma from it and be like, wow, like, I wasn't the only one that went through this. And it was really impactful and it was really eye-opening. But I want to go over the more spiritual parts of what happened over the last, like 3 years, because a lot has happened. Back when I was living with my first roommate in Vacaville, I was still just kind of, I don't know, the only way I can describe it is I was very lukewarm practicing. It was the deepest level of practice in my spiritual life that I knew how to do with the very limited amount of information that I had. It's not that no growth happened during that time, it's just that during that time, there was so much trauma happening that I wasn't really in the place to be growing spiritually. It was just not possible for me to do that and that. It was just too much. So my brain just ended up focusing on the task at hand. It just focused on Amazon and living every day and things like that because it was just too much to do anything else. And honestly, no big growth spurts happened in my spiritual practice during the time that I was homeless in Vacaville. With everything going on, again, I just don't feel like it was a time where I was really able to do that. Nothing really changed until I moved to LA. And about maybe a month or so after I moved to LA and started living with the second roommate, Lucifer came in. Like Lucifer. I was shocked because I didn't know what to do. It wasn't that I wasn't open to working with him. I had always felt very drawn to working with infernals or even things outside of angels, because really angels and the goddess Nyx were the only experiences that I had had up until that point of working with. So I was actually really excited to start working with him. So I did. I started working with him, I believe either the end of August of 2020 or beginning of September of 2020, somewhere in that time range. And there was a lot of shadow work that he was helping me go through, mostly trauma around my religious background and things like that, just helping me to get very clear on what it is that I wanted in my life and why I wanted it, and ways that I could take steps towards implementing things that would help me to achieve the life that I wanted, because I wasn't quite there yet. So it was just something where I still felt trapped, and I just wanted a way to really be able to push myself to achieve what it is that I wanted to achieve. And he was the push that I needed. So I solely did deity work with Lucifer from then until I had moved into my first apartment. And then he left around August, I believe, like beginning of August of 2021. So he had been really helping me with the first part of all of the shadow work that had come up from being homeless and going through all the changes and dealing with all the trauma and just kind of like processing all of that. But before he left, both Lilith as well as Medusa came in to assist with helping me work through some SA experiences. I won't really get into it too deep here because I don't want to trigger anybody, but basically it's not something I like to talk about. It's not something that I really like to touch on, but they helped me through a lot of guilt and a lot of anger around that. So after kind of working through that with all the combination of them, the magical trio, if you will, Lucifer left and he was just like, you know, it's the end of us working together for now. And I was like, okay, it was really sad, but I was like, you know, I trust the process. And then Lilith left and Medusa was with me for multiple months after that. And when she left, I believe there was about a month where it was just me. It was just me, just kind of like, you know, working and focusing on myself and just implementing and processing everything that they had taught me. And during the time that I had been working with Lucifer, I joined the Satanic Temple and I became a Satanist. And I started working in demonolatry. And so I started calling myself a demonolator, which is really just a term that means someone who works with demons in a spiritual sense and has them assist them in their workings and things like that. So after Medusa left, there was another being that came in and it was Asteroth, which is another infernal. And they can appear as a man or a woman to people. I know that there are some experiences with them appearing as in male form, and then there's also other people who experience them in feminine form. I've seen them in both forms, but primarily they appear to me as a male. So I'm just going to refer to them as he because of that, but I don't want to make it sound like they only appear as a male. So I just wanted to clarify before I go into that. But Asteroth came in and started working with me. And there was a lot of clarity that came through with some information that they gave me once they started working with me. And by the time I was getting ready to move to Arizona, I had decided, because Lucifer had kind of been around, but not like coming in as in like working with me. He was just kind of like popping in and out and being like, hey, how you doing? You know, like checking in. But around that time, I had decided that I wanted to take Lucifer on as a patron deity. And if you don't know what that is, it's just basically another tier above deity work. You can worship a deity, you can have deity work, and then you can have a patron deity, which you dedicate your life to. And then there's also high priestesses and high priests of certain deities and things like that. But patron deity is kind of in between deity work and being a high priestess or a priest for that deity. So right before I moved to Arizona, I got the last tattoos that I have added to my arm, because I have a lot more tattoos than you guys remember, and added their sigils to my hand. I have demon sigils on my arm now. But the reason why I did this is because I have taken on both Lucifer and Asteroth as my patrons. So I have two patron deities now, or patron infernals. And I did my patron ceremony with them in mid-December, I believe. And it was just absolutely beautiful. It was just so, it was very, very validating. And it was one of the most beautiful moments that I think I've ever had in my practice, ever. Just by far, just absolutely incredible. So I was working primarily with Asteroth and Lucifer from December until February, which we're still in now. And at the beginning of February, I started getting really, really heavy signs that Odin was coming through. And I was like, no, like, this is too much. It's too much deity. Like, I need a break, okay? But consistently, even when I said, I don't think I'm ready to bring on another deity to work with, like, I want to make sure that I'm established with Lucifer and Asteroth, he, like, continuously. It got so intense that it got to the point where he was coming to my friends who are also clairvoyant. He was showing up at like the end of the bed in the middle of the night and being like, you should tell Ariel I should work with her. And I was just like, dude, you can't do that. Like you just need to like chill a little bit. But I just didn't feel ready. I didn't feel like I could take that on. And he was like, no, you can do this. Like, I really want to work with you. So around beginning of February, I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's work together. And from then on, it was just like boom, 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 tower moment, tower moment, tower moment, all the tower moments. It was very overwhelming, but also very exhilarating because he really pushed me to take steps that I had been so nervous about taking before then in my business and in my life, and just really stepping into my practice and really embracing it with open arms and saying, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing now. And because of him coming in and then further having Freya come in as well as Frigga, and Skaudi, I now call myself a Norse pagan. I know, I promise I'm not like stealing all the terms. I'm not trying to label myself, but the focus of my practice over the last month has been integrating what I've learned through demonolatry and what I've learned about and through Norse paganism, and understanding how that's going to fit in my practice and how to integrate the two into what my practice will be moving forward. And that's really exciting. And I'm super excited about that. But yeah, I just wanted to update you all and let you know where I am and what I'm doing, and hopefully get back into posting on YouTube. I've really wanted to come back, but I just wanted to really make sure that I was in a place where I could be in a mindset to be making progress in my content again and actually posting again, because up until this point, I was just processing so much that I felt like I couldn't take that on. And I still might not be able to have a super consistent posting schedule or anything, but I still want to be posting a lot of content on here that I wouldn't be able to dive as deep into on my podcast or on TikTok, which I have a podcast, by the way. I have a podcast now, and it's called Ghost Tea Podcast, and people have really enjoyed it and said that it's really opened up a lot of perspectives for them, and that's really all I want. I just want to be able to, you know, share my perspective on things and share what I've learned in my own practice with others, because I know that I really wish that I had so many other people's perspectives when I was building my practice, and I know how much it helped me once I did, and I just want to be able to be another resource for people. And so yeah, but with that said, I'll go ahead and close that out here, but I just wanted to update you guys and let you all know where I'm at right now. And hopefully this will not be the last time you see me. Hopefully this will just be the start of a new era, if you will. So yeah, and also to anybody who's like stuck with me from the beginning and has followed me in this journey and has supported me from afar or booked a session with me or anything like that, I really want to say thank you, and say thank you so much for supporting me in all the different phases of who I've been and who I am. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for being with me this far into my journey, and hopefully we can figure out our practices together and maybe share some insight and some information. But I hope you all are doing well, and hopefully I'll see you again sometime soon. All right, bye.